Earlier, I asked Bob Schieffer about how the establishment Republicans are coping with Trump's dominance.
I think that the Republican Party is going through the 5 stages of grief right now. First comes denial, then comes anger, then comes bargaining, and then finally comes acceptance. I think they're between anger and bargaining right now. Nobody thought in the establishment, if there's such a thing left in the Republican Party, that what happened last night was going to happen. They didn't take Donald Trump seriously. Now it is sunk in on them that he may well be their nominee, and they frankly are trying to figure out what to do about that.
This number is really astonishing. Among non-Trump voters, we found this out in exit polling on Super Tuesday, would they be satisfied if Trump became the nominee? 74% said no. And Ted Cruz's numbers are very similar. What does that say about the possibility of someone really being able to be the big tent leader of the Republican Party as the nominee?
Well, that's right now what Republicans are trying to sort out. I mean, I talked to more than several Republican leaders yesterday, and they were talking about what do we do now? I mean, do we run away from the nominee of our party? That's, senators that are up for re-election. Do we come and run with him? He doesn't stand for a lot of things that we stand for. Many Republicans think he's just too liberal for them on any number of issues. And they just don't know what to do about it right now. And what to do about it, it depends on how many different Republicans you ask about it.
The Republicans who don't want to see Trump as the nominee say it is handing Hillary Clinton an obvious victory into the White House. But doesn't Ted Cruz do the same thing? I mean, the consensus among Democrats is they would rather run against Ted Cruz than Donald Trump.
I'm not sure about that, but Ted Cruz was on television last night talking about he could be the unifier. Ted Cruz may be many things, but I've never seen him unify anybody. I mean, he has no friends among the Republicans in the United States Senate. I would not normally talk about something like that, but he wears that as a badge of honor. He says, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to change things. He has been the one that has, stood up and many times stood alone in the Senate. And as a result, he literally does not have very many friends in the Senate.
Well, because he came to power in a wave of Tea Party enthusiasm, and a lot of Tea Party candidates said to their constituents who voted for them, look, I'm not going into compromise. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And when you get to Washington, what you find out is if you get enough people who are unwilling to compromise, nothing happens. I mean, the way that action happens in Washington is through consensus and compromise.
Ted Cruz went on the Senate floor and called the Republican leader in the Senate a liar. I don't expect that Mitch McConnell is going to be running up and saying, what can I do to help you now? I think he's going to be doing everything he can to find another way. And right now, they don't know where to go. Contessa, what leaders in the Republican Party, what I call the traditional Republicans, the people, who have been Republicans for a long time, even before the Tea Party came along, what they're talking about now is trying to figure out some way to have an open convention.
And normally what you hear is no way, no how. We got to know who our nominee is.
Exactly. We want peace and harmony. The convention is where everybody comes together. They're now saying maybe if we can just prevent him, Donald Trump, from getting to the magic number of having a majority of delegates before this convention opens, maybe, we can go through the first ballot and then people will be released from their pledges and they can come up with somebody else, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan. I mean, it wouldn't have to be somebody that ran in any of the primaries, but is that going to happen? I don't know. That seems like a real long shot.
Lindsey Graham, the former presidential candidate and senator from South Carolina, has been astonishingly honest on this Super Tuesday about the potential for a Trump nomination. And he says, I think we're about ready to lose to the most dishonest politician in America, Hillary Clinton. And how could you do that? Nominate someone who's crazy? He says, I think dishonest beats crazy. For Hillary Clinton, is that the big stumbling block for her, that the perception that is dogging her, that she's not honest?
For whatever reasons, every poll shows that many, many voters, Democrats and Republicans, simply do not trust Hillary Clinton.
Do you think it's because when Scott Pelley asks her, can you promise not to lie, she hedges her bet?
I think it goes beyond that. I don't think there's any question this whole email controversy has had some impact on that. And she herself will tell you, look, I've been around a long, long time. There may be a little bit of just Clinton fatigue here, but it looks to me like that she is headed toward the Democratic nomination.
But here we are, Super Tuesday, and you can't rule out socialist Bernie Sanders.
Well, that's what has happened, Contessa. We have reached a point in our electoral politics where money has so overwhelmed the system that serious people just don't want to fool with it anymore. They don't believe they can be effective. They don't believe they can accomplish things in places like the United States Senate, the Senate of the most powerful nation in the history of the world, and they feel like, I can't get anything done there. I'm going to do something else. So when the serious people don't want to fool with it, you're left with those who are willing to fool with it. And that is what has produced this cast of characters we have this year running for president on both sides of the aisle.
When you consider all the fractures of these political parties, can you foresee in the near future a moment where it doesn't become a political system of two parties, where there's really more entry and more power for maybe a third or a fourth party?
I have felt for a long time that we may be seeing the fracturing of the Republican Party. And, you know, the Democratic Party is not in all that great shape either. We may see a whole realignment here. I'm not sure we're to that point yet, but I think that's certainly within the realm of possibility.
You've put in a lot of work over Super Tuesday. I appreciate the time you spent with us this morning.
Well, I don't need much sleep. You know, when you get to my age, you have to get up early in the morning anyway, so.
My age, too. Probably for different reasons. But, Bob, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Contessa.